Hello, my name is Hamza, and I'm here to present on families as partner in learning, strengthening community connections. First of all, I want to welcome and thank everyone for coming for your enthusiastic support of your child's learning. Your child is able to learn and grow because of you. Today, the focus of my discussion is about families, educators, and the community working together as a team to facilitate children's learning. Working towards Working together provides opportunities for early years education to become a shared responsibility with everyone involved respected for their input. This is relevant to family and community engagement in early education in relation to the principles of the EYLF V2.0 and National Quality Standards Quality Area 6 principles, which state we must engage in positive relationships and partnerships with families. In simple terms, these frameworks recognize children achieve their best learning outcomes when educators and families work in partnership to embrace shared responsibility and respect for one another. By working together, we can create a safe, less stressful, and inclusive environment. Moving on to the next slide. So, what partnership means in practice? Collaboration in early learning means working together as a team to share equal responsibilities for every child's learning and well-being. Partnerships is based on trust, respect, and mutual communication. Families know their children best, and educators learn as they learn a great deal from families. A partnership includes two-way communication in which families and teachers share ideas, thoughts, and reactions to experiences. Partnerships further connect experiences at home and in the learning center, so children feel a sense of support in both environments. When we are collaborators, we establish greater connections as we assist children in developing the confidence and sense of well-being that will last throughout their learning life. Collaboration between families and educators is essential because it helps to create continuity between home and early learning settings. This supports children's identity and sense of belonging, underpins emotional well-being, and encourages involvement in learning. When families are involved in activities, the child feels valued and is developing confidence. Partnerships support learning outcomes and especially transitions to school. Evidence has shown collaborative approach which support overall children well-being and children's learning outcomes. We can ensure children have the highest possible opportunity to develop social, emotional, and intellectual growth by communicating and working towards common goals. So, if you look, there are like 5 stages, like for continuity, identity and belonging, and well-being, and then the participation, and then finally the learning outcomes. These are all important in making the partnerships and relationships better. So, national quality standard, which is QA6, sixth dimension. The sixth dimension of the national quality standard, which is respectful and reciprocal relationship with families. It includes element 6.1, which refers to open communication and trust between educators and families. Whereas the element 6.2, it refers to working alongside families and the wider community in order to participate in decision making. So one is respectful relationship with families, whereas the other is collaborative partnerships. Both of these elements support strong links between learning programs and community resources and have inclusive practices. Families who are confident and involved are more likely to engage in their child's education. According to the Quality Area 6, it promotes that quality education is founded on the educator, developing a strong and a positive working relationship with families and community partners. Moving on to the next slide. What is EYLF Volume 2.0 main focus? Let's look at this. So early years learning framework version 2.0, it helps educators to make connections between experiences at home and learning experiences at the service. This framework is designed to support the themes of belongings, beings, and becomings. Like this for the themes of belonging and then being and then becoming. Families are considered essential partners in every children's learning journey. So EYLFV 2.0, it basically emphasizes inclusive and reflective practices where educators listen, adopt, and include a range of perspectives. This framework also supports respectful two-way communication and decision making between the educators and families so that the children experience continuity in terms of learning and care. Approaching it this way allows all children to feel included and feel valued and also get support to take their next step towards their full potential. So what are the first two principles of EYLF? The first two principles of EYLF V2.0, it emphasizes relationships and partnerships. So secure, respectful, and reciprocal relationships are meant to remind educators to underpin their relationships with children on trust. How can they do this? They can do this through empathy and understanding. Partnership families, it encourages to share goals and plans for learning to ensure and also to ensure parents' voices are listened and valued. Adding that when families and educators work in partnership, learners benefit from a safe, caring, and a consistent environment that supports children's emotional well-being in their learning. These principles exemplify that building respectful relationships is the key to quality education and also to the lifelong success. Whereas the EYLF principle 3, 4, and 5, the rest of these principles support educators in treating all the children fairly, like high expectations and equity, and then there to respect the diversity and the ongoing learning and reflective practices should be same for all. So, and they should be improved continuously. So, high expectations and equity means having the confident belief that all children can achieve success. Secondly, respect for diversity, which is very important, means that we recognize the language, culture, and tradition of every family and that we deeply value this diversity. Whereas ongoing learning and reflective practice provides opportunities for educators to expand and develop their pedagogy. These principles work together as a springboard for educators to design learning contexts that are inclusive and children also feel respected and competent. Reflecting on values will support continuous professional learning and it will ultimately enhance children's identity and well-being. So let's talk about the core practices for partnerships like holistic approaches, cultural competence, intentional teaching, continuity of learning, assessment for learning. So let's start. Strong partnerships involve the ongoing application of specific strategies. A whole child approach involves attending to the interconnected nature of all domains of learning, which are social, emotional, and cognitive. Cultural responsiveness involves putting families, contexts, and experiences first, whereas intentional teaching invokes relationship between children's interests and both home and the prescribed curriculum. Whereas continuity of learning mitigates disruption for children moving from one educational setting to another. And then assessment as learning. This must include families' assessment of children's learning, their processes, and how they act and their action. Together by putting into practices, these strategies assist educators and families to mutually sustain children in their meaningful, connected, and also in their efficient learning. And what would be the role of community in children's improvement and growth? So, the children's learning is an integral part of community engagement. Learning can also occur outside the classroom through community engagement, for example, with libraries, healthcare centers, maybe like local council. The relationships brings well-being for families and it also encourages inclusion and also civic participation. With families and communities working together, children will have improved learning opportunities and also more access to resources to extend their learning. This strategy of partnership it provides a collective support system which will help families, children, and also community service and to feel connected and also to feel valued in the community. So what are the partnership examples like learning outcomes in action? Let's talk about this. So all the outcomes in the EYLF can be scaffolded through partnerships. For example, children develop identity through family stories, learn about our world through community projects, and develop well-being through like shared care plans. When families set goals, children become confident learners, and they also engage in multilingual opportunities. And the families can also build communication. This illustrates how families and educators can come together to realize the learning outcomes of the EYLF. Additionally, children will feel more secure and valued and also willing to engage in the learning experiences. When home experiences are linked to the center experiences, they can learn better. And then the diversity and cultural responsiveness. Recognizing and respecting diversity is an important aspect of early education. Educators implement should acknowledge that children come from various culture and language backgrounds, and then they have to invite the families to share their traditions and also to provide translated material to promote inclusivity and better learning. Including diverse books and resources in the curriculum supports children's understanding of visual representation, and as a result, educators will recognize the equality of representation. Educator training in cultural competence also allows their educators to promote and recognize relevance, and respect for all families. When services value diversity, children learn to value the difference and experience a greater sense of belonging. So, which is the socio-cultural theory according to Vygotsky? According to the Vygotsky socio-cultural theory, learning occurs through social interaction. Families are first educators. They are scaffolding children's development, and educators continue to scaffold and support children's learning through the zone of proximal development, thereby extending the children's learning. When there is a collaborative partnership between home and center, the partnerships enhance rich and learning experiences. When educators and families share understanding and the goals, children's languages, thinking, and social skills are better supported. Vygotsky's theory it basically emphasizes that partnerships and communications are critical for establishing strong foundation for learning that will last forever. So what are the practical engagement strategies like warm greetings, family-oriented sessions, digital apps to of daily upgrades, joint cultural events, feedback surveys, and even the committee. So let's talk about this. So developing relationships will require specific strategies. One of those strategies is to offer warm greeting to families, which will help build a welcoming atmosphere. In fact, you may want to think about an orientation meeting, which will also welcome and include families as they learn about the program. Furthermore, you may offer alternative ways for families to stay connected through technology, maybe like an application that may provide updates to families and allow sharing pictures of their children who are engaged in learning and other experiences. It can be even a WhatsApp group chat, doesn't matter. So the families should know how their children are interacting. Your program may also want to host cultural events to honor diversity and allow families to showcase their cultural contributions. You can also ask families for input into decision making with parent input committees like the Board of Education and feedback surveys. These initiatives build trust and foster relationships in families so the families feel valued and also feel included into your program. For example, if we take an example of community garden project. The community garden project encourages families and children to spend the time together. Children can learn about nature. They can also learn about working together in healthy eatings by growing vegetables. Also, The families often feel more connected to the community and the service, which builds sustainability. This project also supports children's well-being and environmental education and is hands-on and encourages children, parents, and educators to develop relationships. It is a fun, inclusive, and educational way for families to connect with each other and also with their community. How about another example like health and nutrition program? So, like the family workshops or maybe partnership with the local healthcare center. So, partnerships with the community health centers can support families' well-being. Health professionals can deliver wellness workshops that might be related to nutrition, maybe hygiene, and other healthy habits. Family members can attend either workshop information sessions or hands-on learning experiences that will provide them with the new ideas to promote their child's health and readiness for school. These experiences not only further educators' holistic approach to care for children, but also by addressing their learning, also their physical, social, and emotional well-being. Partnerships with healthcare professionals also helps to ensure families have access to programs and services that support the development of healthy, happy children. Now let's talk about another example, like culture partnership with local council. Working in a in collaboration with the local council to host a multicultural festival can provide opportunities for families to have a versatility in representation and cultural experience. Families can prepare cultural food, music, and customs, and the children's art can highlight their interpretations of diversity. This process can both educate and develop understanding of respect and involvement in the community. Anyhow, collaborative arrangements like this complex will show how educational services can link learning to reality and also display the engagement for the families. And it can also form a bridge to resolve a relationship between a child's home, school, and community. So, what can be the challenges and what can be the solutions? Even the most mature partnerships can have relatively discordant accounts. There can be barriers to communications to rectify as we work with different families. You may have timing conflicts where more flexible opportunities for meetings can help to ease. Plans can be impacted by cultural differences, cultural competence trainings, staff, and it will also ameliorate some of these effects and programs and services which will provide casual, unrehearsed social opportunities for families to engage. Uh, it can also help with the participation. After we begin to name and confront barriers at the school, we expand possibilities for building partnerships. When families notice their values and cultural beliefs are recognized and respected in the school community, your work becomes easier and altruistic. And practicing reflection will support educators in enhancing family engagement. Start by collecting feedback from families to determine if any family engagement strategies had a positive impact. Record what worked well and develop new goals for next steps. Sharing family success stories can motivate new areas of collaborative work and nourish a sense of community pride. Reflection will also help to ensure the family engagement remains effective, welcoming, and engaging for all families, and reflect on the EYLF Principle 5 about continuous improvement. In short, families are key partners in their child's learning and development. Working in partnership supports children's learning, well-being, and connections with community. The EYLF version 2.0 and the NQSQA6, it provides direction when developing inclusive and high-quality practice. Continual reflection and improvement on our practice will ensure all families are welcomed and feel represented and involved in the setting. When we listen to include and collaborate with families, children will truly belong and grow into competent and capable learners for life, especially. These are all the references that are included in this presentation. At last, I will like to appreciate your listening, and I will also appreciate connecting with families and community, which gives meaning and impact for education. However, we must not take for granted that every little effort towards communication, engagement, and advocacy in order to support families, which will lead to continuous children's success. Let us strive to continue to nurture relationships that are built on trust and cultural proficiency and a learning stance. I believe partnerships allow us to support and impact every child in their journey towards success and well-being. Thanks once again for your time and for your willingness to participate with me. Thank you.